Hello everyone, my name is Natalie, and today I'm reading another ghost story from Reddit. This one is called The Time I Stayed a Few Nights in an Empty House. And if you like this story, I will have it linked down below so you can read it for yourself and comment along with the original poster. Back around 1991, my then girlfriend and her family moved out of state. They had packed up their entire house and put it on the market. This was during the recession, and her dad got a really great offer out of state that he couldn't refuse. They live on the other side of town from me, in the older area of town, but nice. The homes were huge and kind of ranch style with huge lots. Their home was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a detached garage, huge driveway that fit their boat and RV, and they were not really that close to their neighbors, meaning that the plots of homes were not spaced too close together. I remember the house had one huge tree out front that covered most of the driveway, and over to the garage of the backyard had 2 or 3 smaller trees. I remember one of them was a fruit tree, maybe oranges. When they packed up everything, I was helping them pack their home up, and when I was doing so, her dad pulled me aside to the porch with her mom. Her dad had asked me if he could trust me with something. I knew her parents loved me and trusted me, so I wasn't sure what they wanted, but I would have done anything for them. They said that until the realtor sells the house, if I wouldn't mind stopping in every few days and check on the place. Her dad hands me the key and says if you could maybe help us with cleaning up the place too. He started to give me some cash, and I told him no, that I would be happy to do it for them. I knew they were going through a tough spot, so I told them not to worry about anything and that I would clean and make sure that everything was okay. He seemed really worried about leaving the house alone. Hello? He really seemed worried about leaving the house alone. He said if you could maybe stay a night or two just so people don't think that the place is abandoned. He said that the guy across the street is on vacation and he was the only neighbor that he could trust. During that time, there were issues of people breaking into foreclosed homes and removing appliances and squatting. I told him for sure that I would plan on spending a few nights there a week or whatever. He said call us if you need anything, but that it would take them a few days to travel and get to the new place. Her dad had a cell phone, but back then it wasn't like today, but he gave my girlfriend's grandmother's phone number and said that she would know how to get in touch with them. The first few days, I did as they asked. I cleaned up the kitchen, bathrooms, vacuumed everything, then started doing other chores like windows, wiping down walls and stuff. The first night, I stayed the entire night. I told my parents that I was going to work all night. It was like on a Friday, and I had planned to come back home the following morning. There was a cot, radio, and a few lights, nothing else. I decided to sleep in my girlfriend's old room. Part of me just missed her at that point, and I didn't know how long it was going to be until I saw her again. I fell asleep with the radio playing low in the room, and I had left a couple lights on, the kitchen light on and the front bathroom light on if I remember correctly. During the first night, I woke up in the middle of the night freezing cold. It was fall and temps could dip down at night, but this felt like something else. It felt like a cold from some kind of source, like being inside a fridge. I got up and turned on the house heater and went back to the cot and bundled up with my sleeping bag. When I got home the next night, I had mentioned to my friend about how cold it gotten the night before. Apparently, it wasn't a cold night. Over the following days, I would stop by the house during the day, check on the house, I would take any time to finish up my homework, and then I would go home. I think the next time I slept over was on a Thursday night. I remember because I had school the next day, and I'd planned out how I was going to get to school from their house, as they lived further from my school than I did. I go to their house later in the evening, and it was almost dark. This time, I had brought a little camping TV that was black and white and had bunny ears, just so I could have a little entertainment. However, the TV didn't get any signal from my girlfriend's room, so I moved it to their den. Their den was like an add-on. It must have been a patio at some point or something because you could tell it wasn't part of the original house. I set up my cot, brought a thermos of hot chocolate, turned on my TV, and was watching the TV and started to fall asleep. I heard a noise come from the other side of the house. It sounded like, well, you know if you lean a broom handle against the wall and it falls over but slides down the wall? That's what it sounded like. I didn't get up to go check on what made that noise. I didn't see anything, and the broom and mop were in the kitchen pantry, and they were still upright. I then went to the bathroom to pee, and I swear I heard someone whisper, like saying a sentence. I remember what her dad said about watching out for people trying to break in and steal stuff, so I ran around the house turning on all the lights. A lot of rooms didn't have ceiling lights, so I turned on what I could. I turned on the backyard lights, porch lights, checked all the doors, and everything was locked. Nothing was open. I go back to the den, and my little TV is off. I know I left it on. I started getting the creeps. I can honestly say I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day at school, I told a couple of friends about it and they wanted to come over, but I told them that her dad had asked me not to have people over or throw a party or anything. Not that I would have. I was split between asking a friend to join me or keeping my word. I decided to keep my word, and the next few days I only checked in on the house. And that Sunday, my girlfriend called me at home. She asked me how I was doing. She was talking about their road trip and their new house. I was kind of quiet or something because I remember her asking me, okay, what's wrong? Other than me telling her that I missed her, I didn't want to seem like I was some kid scared of being in a home alone. I told her to let her dad know that I stayed over a few times and went to check on the house almost every day. I think I also reminded them to cancel their paper because it was still coming. She then says, any issues being there alone? I said, what do you mean? She said, nothing's bothering you? I told her, well, I got a really cold spell in her room and that I had heard noises and I swear I heard whispering. She said, yeah, I kind of figured you'd find out. I said, Kathy, what are you talking about? She said, remember how I told you I never liked to be home alone? I said, yeah. Sometimes she would call me over when her parents weren't home so that she wasn't home alone. I said, is your house haunted or something? She said, well, I'm not sure if it's haunted or something is just there, but yeah, we would hear noises and see things. She went on to tell me stories about how she was a kid and that they moved in there, and she would run to her parents' room and sleep at the edge of their bed. I was like, oh, okay, great, thanks for telling me. She said, I didn't want you to think I was weird. She said, oh, my dad said you don't have to stay the night there anymore. The neighbor across the street is back from vacation and he'll keep an eye on the place at night. However, he asked if I still wouldn't mind going by at least every other day. I kept that up for a few days, making sure to hit the house only during daylight time. As the weeks went on, the days got shorter, and one evening, I arrived at the house after 7. It was already dark outside. I opened up the front door and turned on some lights and I went to use the restroom. And as I was taking a piss, I was facing the toilet and they had one of those bathrooms with the mirror that went across the whole wall. And I could see into the hallway from the bathroom. I saw something go by really fast. I yelled out, hello? I left the house in a hurry. I left the bathroom light and the hall light on. A day later, Kathy's dad asked if I left the light on because the neighbor saw that the lights were on and me inside. I said, yeah, I stopped in about 7 to check on everything and left. He said, no, this was at 11 p.m. I said, no, it wasn't me. I went over there a few more times, then the realtor took over and sold the house to a company that bought up homes. I was so glad to not have to go back there anymore. So that's the end of the story, and I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are. Do you think somebody broke into the home, or do you think it could have been a ghost? Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.